Good morning, afternoon, evening, guys. We're back with another random tier list. Continuing our series here, talking about the MLB free agents coming into the year 2022. If we ever get a season, that is. In any case, these guys are still listed as free agents on MLB, so that's what we're going by. And I am using MLB's list for this. Somebody commented, and thank you for this comment, that Freddie Galvis from my last list, last week we did all the infielders, took a couple days off, now we're doing outfielders and pitchers. Somebody commented on my last list that Freddie Galvis is actually playing in Japan this year, which is true. So MLB didn't have that listed, so hopefully all the rest of these guys are actually still free agents. We're going to go with that list. I am not going to search if any of these guys are actually starting for the Blue Wave or something. Now, as you can see, we have a tier list here starting at MVP, going down through All-Star, Above Average, Mediocre, Serviceable Backup, Bad, He Still Plays, question mark, and Who, question mark. Those bottom two, especially, I believe, are self-explanatory. We're going through outfielders today, left, center, and right field, starting on the left. And we're going to be passing over some players like Mark Canha, Clint Frazier, and Starling Marte, who have already signed deals. We are only talking about guys who are still free agents as far as I'm aware. Starting off here, we have Kyle Schwarber. I think there's no doubt Kyle Schwarber will have an above-average season. He has a 3.4 WAR in left field, which is a little surprising. It shows how good his offense has been. The one-time catcher moved from that position to the outfield. He's a monster at catcher in fantasy baseball. I think he does definitely have the potential to be an all-star player. Wherever he lands, I think he's going to be a great asset to that lineup. And yeah, at 29, he still has some years of production left for sure. Eddie Rosario is right behind him in terms of age. He is 30 years old. A little lower on the WAR ranking here, but Eddie Rosario, I think, will have a good season wherever he goes. If I remember correctly, his stats and everything, he pretty much does everything except walk. So, I mean, if you have to have one issue, I guess that can be it. But yeah, Rosario is just a well-rounded player. I think he can do really well pretty much wherever. I think he's going to be an above-average player and an athlete no matter where he goes. Tommy Pham is now 34 years old. That's a statement I didn't think I'd say. Despite that, I do still think he will be an above-average player. I remember when Tommy Pham, back years ago, I used to buy him in FanDuel for my daily fantasy, $2,000. He was a relatively unknown utility starter for the Cardinals. And I remember starting him whenever he played because he always produced. He always was consistent. And we are a couple of years out from that. Tommy Pham, now a bona fide starter. And I do think he has an above-average season in him, at least one more, here at the age of 34. Somebody I don't think has an above-average season left in him is Andrew Mccutchen, who has had that gradual regression from superstar to mediocre. He is 35 years of age right now, has moved from center field to left field with age, which makes sense. I don't think he's going to be bad. It depends where he goes, but I don't think he's necessarily going to be an above-average player. Mediocre or C tier here is considered average, so obviously there will be guys that end up there. Next up, we have the first of two Dickersons. We have Alex Dickerson. Full disclosure, the first time I tried to record this video, I got these guys mixed up. Sorry, sue me. Alex Dickerson is the better of the two. He has a slightly higher WAR, and he is slightly younger. And you guys saw what he did on the Giants last year. I think he has an above-average season ahead of him, no matter where he goes. Now, Corey Dickerson, I did not realize was 33. Corey Dickerson's all the way down here. Corey Dickerson could also have an above-average season. This is honestly very, very borderline for me, though. I'm going to go ahead and put him in mediocre. I'm definitely assuming that some parts of my brain are getting Alex and Corey mixed up. They're not related as far as I know, though they are 1 year apart and their WARs are very identical. And they are not identical, but very close. And they do play the same position, so let me know which Dickerson you think will be better this season. I'm going to put my money on Alex. Next, we have Jock Peterson. Man, remember what Jock Peterson was going to be like the next superstar for the Dodgers? He's not. I think he's going to have a mediocre season. I think he will be a good starter, a startable player. I think he will be an ownable player in a lot of fantasy formats. I just don't think he's going to be very good. I think he's going to be a 6-7 hitter, maybe 5. He probably still does have some of that power, depending on where he goes. But he's 30 now, which is weird to say. I remember when he broke in, I think he was like 22. Next up, we have Luis Gonzalez, who is one of the youngest players on this list. Luis Gonzalez, I honestly don't know a whole lot about. I was looking at some of his stats. They are promising. But at 26 years old, without a lot of experience behind him, I can't say for sure that he's going to be a good starter this season. At best, he ends up in mediocre, but I think to be more fair to the veterans that are there, I think we should put him in serviceable backup. I think he needs to prove that a little bit more to us. Actually, I do have his stats up right here. So, yeah, I mean, he had 8 at-bats last season. So, yeah, serviceable backup. I think he starts as a backup or as some type of third utility player, perhaps even in AAA somewhere. Yeah. Oh, this says his rookie status is still intact through 2022. And it says he's not a free agent until 2028. Well, then I don't know what this is talking about. I don't know. MLB has him listed as a free agent. If he's a free agent, he's a serviceable backup. Phil Gosselin is also a serviceable backup. Phil Gosselin, one of the 5 Angels outfielders on this list. That's a lot. Gosselin can also play first and third, so I do think he'll end up being a utility player on some team. He will get a good amount of starts, I assume, but I don't think he'll have any season to break records or anything like that. He currently has a 0 WAR, so definitely want to keep that there, not go any lower, but we'll see if he's able to do that. Jason Martin. I don't know who Jason Martin is. He's on the Rangers. I think that's why. There will be guys on this list that I don't know who this is. If you didn't watch the first couple last week, we did have some names on that list. Let me know if I'm an idiot for not knowing any of these, but Jason Martin is not a name I know off the top of my head. Tim LeCastro is, though. I think Tim LeCastro is a serviceable backup. Where he goes, he has a negative .1 WAR, so basically 0. He's 29 years old. So he does have some years of his prime production still left there, I would assume. I just don't think he has what it takes to be a good starter, even at the left field position. Gerardo Parra is 35 now. And despite that, I do still think he could be a good backup. Age is definitely catching up with him. But I do still think Parra can do something as a backup. I don't think I would put him in the bad category just yet. Lewis Brinson, also same thing here. He is a pretty good defensive player, if I'm remembering correctly. I would put him in the serviceable backup category. Yeah. I think that he could earn a spot as a 4th or 5th outfielder. I don't think he's going to do much better than that. John Jay was going to be on the Angels, got hurt pretty quickly. Forgot he's still playing. He's 37. I don't know that John Jay has much left, to be honest. Matt Joyce. I did not know Matt Joyce was still playing baseball. Matt Joyce is wearing a Phillies hat in this picture, but he used to be an Angel as well. And I just did not like that. He's 37 now, negative .9 WAR. Yeah, I'm going to leave him in that he still plays category. Center fielders. We have the perennial center fielder for the Yankees, Brett Gardner, who I suppose is not going to be there anymore. 38 years old, 2.0 WAR. He's going to be a mediocre starter somewhere. I don't know that he starts at center field. He might end up going somewhere else. Could do left field. I think he has what it takes to be a starter, though. Even though he is 38 years old, he's always been productive. He's always been consistent. I think mediocre is a good spot for him. Kevin Palar, same thing. Palar has that great defense. A couple years ago, I remember we were talking about Palar, Kiermaier, which one had the better center field defense. Palar has won starting spots before, and I think he will do that again this year. I think even at the age of 33, he's getting on up there. I do still think he has some years of production left, and some years of good defense, too. So I would put him in mediocre here. Odubel Herrera, probably same thing. He is probably able to be started somewhere. 30 years old. So yeah, younger than Palar. Still got that defense. Still got the hitting. Honestly, what is there to write home about him? My cat evidently likes Odubel Herrera. We are back, having kicked the cat out of scratching my computer desk. Not literally. Deleno De Shields, 29 years old, .5 WAR. De Shields can play, I believe, second base, unless I'm crazy. I think he's a mediocre starter. Center field this year, Starling Marte and Chris Taylor already signed, and after that, it's just a lot of mediocre players, honestly, and probably some bad ones. We're gonna get to some bad ones in a sec. But De Shields, I think, is going to be a mediocre starter. Billy Hamilton, he still plays baseball. I did not realize. No, I honestly can't leave him there, though I did forget about him. Such a sensation that quickly became not one. I think he will be a serviceable backup and pinch runner. He still does have his speed, but man, that offense is just not there usually. Next up, we have Roman Quinn. I don't know who that is. Do not know who Roman Quinn is. Sorry. Travis Jankowski. I think this is Travis Jankowski. I honestly don't know. I don't think Travis Jankowski is very good. I don't know. Actually, I do know who he is because I've seen the name, and it reminds me of the Raiders kicker. I'm going to probably put him in bad. I don't think he's going to be winning any awards this year, but maybe you can prove me wrong. Jake Marisnik, serviceable backup. Marisnik's been around for a long, long time. He's always been a solid fantasy player to pick up mid-season after all your outfielders are hurt. So where he ends up, he's going to try to win that starting spot, just like he tries to do in our fantasy leagues every year. Cameron Mabin, I did not know he still played baseball. He was also used to be an Angel. I didn't know he was still around. Juan Lagares is just not very good. Sorry, Juan. He did have some good runs on the Angels. He's one of these players that I've watched more than, other players of his caliber, but I just don't think he's a very good player overall. He could work himself into a nice fourth outfielder spot, but if I'm a betting man, I'm going to put him in that bad tier. Joining him in that bad tier will be Ender Inciarte, who has just fallen off. And maybe I'm just crazy here, but Ender Inciarte used to be so consistent, so good, and he has just fallen off of that. It feels like he has fallen down the tier list, literally here. I am going to be putting him in bad. Let me know if you feel like that's too low. But his recent production, unless my brain is playing tricks on me, I'm pretty sure his recent production has just not been that great, unfortunately. So he has a negative .5 WAR, for example, right now. Alberto Almora Jr., 28 years old, has even a lower WAR, which is a surprise for me to see. I would have probably put Almora here in serviceable backup. And you know what? I think I will. I think I will put him there. I think Almora at his age has more athleticism left in him than Inciarte or Lagares, and I think that bodes well for him being a defensive outfielder. Here at the center field position, I think that he could become even a left fielder if he needs to be. I think he has more potential to do that than Inciarte or Lagares. Finally, we have Ian Desmond, who I did not realize still plays baseball. Ian Desmond, I believe, opted out last season. I'm not sure if that was COVID related or... Actually, you know what? It was COVID related. He did not want to risk getting his family sick, I believe it was. He hasn't played in a while. That's why I forgot he still plays. But I guess he's coming back. So he's listed as a free agent, and there's his category. Coming up here, we have Nick Castellanos, all-star caliber player here. I love Castellanos. It's a deep drive into deep left field. Did I get that right? 4-0 Reds. We won't be able to say that anymore. Is Castellanos an MVP candidate? Probably not. I do think he's probably better than Schwarber, but he is 30 now, so we'll see if we do see some regression there in his play. Still in right field, he still does have that cannon. I think he definitely makes the All-Star team. I would be surprised if he didn't, depending on where he goes. Obviously, he needs to stay healthy as well, but I don't think he has an MVP season in him. Though, still should be very good. Michael Conforto, I do think will be above average this season. I think he has a chance to get the All-Star team, but I would not bet on that. There are usually some very, very good players there in right field and just outfield in general that will be making the cut. So I'd go ahead and put him in above average at his position. We quickly drop off from Conforto to Jorge Solera. Solera, I think, is a mediocre player. If you would ask me, 10 years ago? How old is Solera? 30? If you'd asked me 8 to 10 years ago, I would have told you he would be a star. If you'd asked me 2 years ago, I would have told you he's a scrub. Now I'm thinking he's somewhere in the middle. I think his production on the Rays and in Atlanta have kind of shown that. I think he's a mediocre player now. Next we have Billy McKinley, the 4th or 5th outfielder for the Dodgers, who somehow performed really well. I think he played some other positions too. Didn't he play second and first for them as well? Yeah, I think he's got a mediocre start somewhere. He's also only 27, younger than every other right fielder we've talked about so far. So yeah, I think McKinley could do something this season. It'll be interesting to see where he lands. He's one of the more fun candidates on this list. That could really surprise you. Next we have Brian Goodwin. Goodwin's probably a serviceable backup at this point. I view him more as a 4th outfielder than a bona fide starter. He is getting older, 31. Though, still with some years left, for sure. I'd put him in the serviceable backup category. Dexter Fowler, I will put in the bad category. I forgot he existed, but once I read the name, obviously I remembered who he was. He's 36 now. I don't think he has much production left. He's another signee of the Angels that will haunt me for a long time. I may be a little biased here. Definitely am. How can you not be? I hope that's not affecting quality of this. Let's keep going, though. Steven Souza Jr. I think Souza is actually... He's at the very least a serviceable backup, right? I guess the question is, would you rather have Brian Goodwin or Steven Souza? And I think the answer is actually Brian Goodwin. So I will upgrade Brian Goodwin here to mediocre. We will leave Souza here in serviceable backup. I think that is the difference between them. Mark Payton. I don't know who Mark Payton is. Gerard Dyson. I didn't know Gerard Dyson still played baseball. I also didn't know he was 37 years old, but I guess that makes a lot of sense because I feel like I haven't heard his name in a decade. Remember when this dude was like super fast? And they used to put him into pinch run and stuff? Like, the Rays used to do that, or the Royals used to do that all the time, didn't they? Am I crazy? That might have been like a decade ago. I don't know. I didn't know he still plays baseball, though. Finally, we have Adam Eaton, the final outfielder on this list, and the final Angels reject. That will be, well, not reject, but the Angels are starting over a bit. They might end up re-signing some of these guys. But Adam Eaton, 33 years old, negative .8 WAR, which is higher than I expected. I do still think Adam Eaton is a good backup, a 4th outfielder, you could say. I do still think he sees some playing time. I do still think he has some production. But I suppose if you're picking between Goodwin and Eaton, same thing there as Souza, I do think he's more of a 4th outfielder than Goodwin being a low-tier 3rd outfielder. So there we go, guys. No MVPs in this list so far. I think the only ones we've had MVPs in are third base and shortstop. What do you guys think of the tier list? Did I miss any stars? Do you guys think any of these ones will be breakouts? Are you ready for baseball to come back? Are you sad that it's not back yet? Let me know in the comments what you think. We'll be back tomorrow and the next day with 2 tier lists about pitchers coming up. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you like tier lists or baseball tier lists specifically. And either way, guys, thank you for watching. This has been the guy who makes random tier lists, and I'm signing off.